Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda Radhe.
Sadhu Maharaj asked me to read something from the Bhagavad Gita, the 12th chapter, and explaining, giving a few of my thoughts on it, sharing some of the insights, something what I learned from my Guru. 12th chapter is one of the very important chapters. It comes after the 11th chapter where Krishna gave Arjuna the vision of the cosmic form, Vishvarupa, and basically from the 11th chapter onwards the questions of Arjuna change. Before, Arjuna had doubts. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what Krishna tells him is the right thing. He says, well, once you say this, then you say this. You contradict yourself. And he says in the 6th chapter, what you say, it's not possible. Nobody can keep their mind calm as you want me to. And again and again, and in the 11th chapter, finally, Arjuna tells Krishna, oh Krishna, you've told me so much, but I want to experience it. Just hearing it is not enough. And then Krishna asks Arjuna, you really want? Sometimes we go to the teacher and we say, please show me the higher truth. And we don't even know what this means, and we don't even know what to expect. And so sometimes the teacher asks back, you really want? And sometimes the teacher gives some preparation, and sometimes he makes some tests. Like there's the story of Swami Shivananda. Some aspirant came to Swami Shivananda and said, please explain me the difference between Nirguna Samadhi and Saguna Samadhi, between Asamprajñata and Samprajñata Samadhi. And Swami Shivananda saw him and he asked him just, you want tea or coffee? And then afterwards he went, this cake or this cookie or that cookie. And then afterwards the friend of the person came and said, well, it's a little late. And then he left. And then Master Shivananda only said, well, I think he's not really interested in Samadhi. So sometimes the teachers give us lots of tests also and preparation. But in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, he said, yes, please, let me experience the higher truth. And then Krishna says, with the physical eyes you will not see it. You will only do it with the Divya Chakshu, with the divine eye. Like Gurudev said, to understand Radha, you cannot do it with your intellect. You can only by going to Ananda Maya Kosha. Actually, this morning I was reading on the internet, you can get access to anything, some discourse of Swami Krishnananda, who is a disciple of Swami Shivananda, discourse on Radha, he was giving on Radha Ashtami. And he said, well, the mystery of Radha nobody can really understand. So you can understand Shiva and Shakti, you can understand Lakshmi and Narayan, but Radha, intellectually, even though there are written books about it, you cannot understand intellectually. Even though all the Goswamis, they try to make it clear to all philosophers, the mystery of Radha you can only experience when you open your heart. So that is what Krishna told Arjuna in the 11th chapter, and then he opened his Vidya chapter. And now it's changed. Arjuna saw the vision of God, of the divine, and he saw everything in it. From then onwards, it's no longer the question whether Krishna is saying something which he can follow. It's not the question anymore whether he can trust Krishna's word, because Arjuna had doubts in the 2nd chapter. Like Arjuna starts like a strange disciple. He goes to Krishna and says, please, I have this deep problem. I do not know what to do. Please tell me what I should do. And then he said, I will not fight. So basically he says, please give me advice, but if you give me this one advice, I will not follow it. What kind of disciple is Arjuna? But if we are sincere or honest, many of us will know that's how we go to the teacher. So, but afterwards, Arjuna shows he is a worthy disciple. But then he says, after he has this, he says, please, I'll take refuge into you. And then he says, but if you tell me this, I will not do it. But then afterwards he says, I do not see whatever rich and whatever pleasure and whatever fame will come, which will be helpful for me. So he has this intense vairagya. He knows nothing which he would achieve would be helpful. He only needs the truth. And then again he prostrates in front of Krishna. So he's fluctuating in between, having that deep devotion, having the desire to know, and then having doubts. With the 11th chapter, Krishna showed him the divine form, and from then onwards there's no longer this doubt. And now Krishna speaks from a very high point of view. And now he gets also more practical. Actually, Krishna gives the answer to the question Arjuna originally asked only much later in the Bhagavad Gita. First you had to transform him. And so in the first part of the 12th chapter, there's the question, should I worship the divine as the transcendental, the all-knowing, the omnipresent, or should I worship the divine in a concrete form? Krishna says both paths are possible. But it's much easier to worship Krishna or worship the divine in a concrete form. A human being is made more to worship the personified being. And the abstract is more difficult. And many in the West especially, they somehow grew up with either atheist or they grew up with some Christian faith, with many lost in the course of their youth, and then they have some problems relating to a concrete form first. So many are first attracted towards the non-dual, the ever-present. But most will find out after some time it's much easier to worship the divine in a concrete form, like Krishna, like Radha Krishna. And Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita it's much easier, and it's easier to reach to the divine. And afterwards he tells Arjuna how to realize God, and he makes it easier and easier. And then after he makes it so easy, then he makes it so hard that it's nearly not possible to follow. Basically, you could say the 12th chapter, Gurudev asked me to talk about. See, I'm just walking, circulating around. From the 13th verse onwards, he describes the ideal devotee. He describes the ideal bhakta. And it's so high that anybody will stay modest. Because, honestly speaking, there are only a handful of bhaktas who can really do it. And then Krishna, in the 20th verse, then he says, I'll start with the 20th, those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service, who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. So there he makes it easy again. Previously he makes it very hard. And then after we all think, how can we follow that? Now he says, well, you follow this path of devotion and you engage yourself in the service and you make me, Krishna, as the supreme goal, and then you will feel the love of Krishna, and in the end this grace of Krishna will lead to all what he says from the 13th verse onwards. So, but now I start with the 13th verse. One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. There's so much in it in this verse. And Swami Vishnudevananda once said, you have to take one word at a time for 1 week. And try to live according to it. Only then you can even think of becoming truthful to it. So that was once an advice he gave to me. So he says, one who is not envious, he's dvesha, and he's kind to all living beings. Kind to all living beings. It's easy to be kind to those who are kind to you. It's even easy to be kind to those you don't know. It's a little harder to be kind to those who are unkind to you. But one can start with something. First, you try to be kind to those who are kind to you. That's not that obvious. Mark Twain once said, the difference between human being and a dog is a dog will not bite the person who is nice to him continuously. So that's one of the specialties of human beings. So let's be kind to those who are kind to us. And then the second is, let's be kind to those whom we don't know. And that seems to be, what is this kind of advice? But when you go to the street and you see somebody, you can nod to him and you can smile. If you go to the supermarket and the cashier is there, it's not yet a robot who is sitting there. There is a human being. And if he's a little slow, most likely he's either new and he needs the patience of the customer, or he just has a hard time, or he has a cold. So what use is yelling at him? Or you often see people. Let's be kind to those whom we don't really know. The person who delivers the packages, the person whom we ask for something, the person we meet on the street. So that's the second part. And then the third, of course, is being kind to those who are not kind to us. And that's the most difficult part. Of course, it does not mean that we have to
fall around the neck.
Fall around the neck, of course, fall around the neck all the time. And of course, sometimes we have to stand up for something. Sometimes somebody wants to destroy something we've built. Sometimes some person have prejudices against what we do. But we can still do it with a kind heart. We can feel in the depth of our heart we're connected with that person. The person has different ideas than me, and maybe the other person has good reasons to believe in what he or she believes. I have another belief, and I have other conviction, And I will stand to my conviction, but with love. And even if I feel like these spiritual aspirants sometimes feel the vibration of the others, and they feel it's more like arrows which pierce into your heart. You don't need to defend yourself, you don't need to close yourself, you don't need to shoot back. You do it with heart feeling, and you do it with friendliness. Sometimes you have to stand up for something, but not with hatred. You have to do it with love. And so many things are possible. And he said, who does not think himself a proprietor? This means we don't own anything. We think we own something, but in reality, what do we own? I still remember when we bought our first ashram. It was in Westerwald in 1996. I went to the law here in Germany. Everything's done by deeds, and there is a notary. So we went there, and he was reading the contract. And then afterwards, I thought that very strange. Afterwards, we had a piece of land. Of course, it's an association which owned the land. Like in Yoga Vidya, everything is a non-profit corporation. First of all, it's an interesting thing with a non-profit corporation. It doesn't belong to anybody, but the members do determine what will happen with it. But now, afterwards, I went to this ashram property, which now belonged to us. So there were birds, there was grass, there's a creek, there are trees. The imagination that belongs to us is extremely strange. Who could even create one little leaf of grass or one little... So nothing belongs to us. And people who think, my house belongs to me, little earthquake, little fire, and it's gone. Or somebody thinks I have so much money and I have fortune and I can build on that little stock market crash and everything finished. So we don't own anything, neither a yoga center, nor our harmonium, nor anything else. For, of course, we cannot run around and say nothing belongs to me. But we're caretakers. This means we don't do it ourselves, but we take care. And if we take care for something which, in the name of somebody who is, whom we love very much, then we do it very good. So if we feel like caretakers of the divine, of God, of Krishna, of Radha, then we'll do it as good as you can. Like I see many of you serving Gurudev with so much love and so much and so determination and love and everything. So that is easy in an ashram because it's not your ashram, it's Gurudev's ashram. You want to do it as well as you can. But if you go home, again we can say, whatever we do for the Lord, we do for God. And if we do that, then we're free from false ego, is written there. It's interesting. We're not only free from ego, we're free from false ego. Because ego in the end is false. There is no real ego. I won't get deeply into that. So much they're equal both in happiness and distress. The interesting thing, he doesn't say we're free from happiness and distress. As long as we have a body and a mind, there will come happiness and there will also come distress. Some of you have children. If your child has troubles, Will the mother be in distress? Naturally. And I'm sure even Gurudev, if he hears somebody of you, all his children, has had an accident, there will be distress. But the point is even equal in both happiness and distress. This means better times, other times will come, and we know there's something deeper in us which is beyond this fluctuation of the mind. And the fluctuation of the mind we don't need to control completely. We don't need to get completely into it, and we don't need to hang on to that feeling for months and months. But we can have these feelings, and then we know there's something deeper in it. And that is what makes one tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, engaged in devotional service with determination, mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. I have to admit, for a long time I had some problems with that. I said, Mat Bhakta Sami Priyaha. Why is God partial? There are only some people dear to him? It can't be. If it's Krishna, he says we should be friendly to all beings, but Krishna is only friendly to those who are behaving like that. Cannot be. So usually I translate it a little differently. I say, that person is in my love. So if we behave like Krishna says here, if we feel like that, then we feel the love of Krishna.
Yeah.
Of course, Krishna's love is always there. Just
We can feel that.
Yes.
he can feel that, and we can try to feel it. And we can feel it by following the teachings, and we can feel it. In the end, he always makes a little smaller things, which is easier, like always engaged in devotional service with determination. We can do that. We can always do these devotional services. He by whom no one is put into difficulty, and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me. So we don't try to create difficulties for others. That's something we can make a determination. We don't want to create difficulties to others. And we don't want to be disturbed by others. We can say, we want to learn from others. We want to see whatever happens as something which God has given us as a task to perform. And we are open. That's what I admired the last few days when I was also with Suniti, where she says, well, you can't plan anything in Vrindavan. Things will happen. But actually we can't plan anywhere anything. Things will happen. Of course, there's some saying, life is what's happening after you made your plans. Or in Germany we have the expression, der Mensch denkt und Gott lenkt. This means man supposes and God disposes. And then there's an afterword in Germany, der Mensch dachte und Gott lachte. Man thought and God laughs. So in that way we do plans, and of course afterwards our plans are disturbed. I do remember first time I was in the ashram of Swami Vishnudevananda as a karma yogi, as a sevaka. I had taken courses and advanced teachers training course and teachers course. But there I was, and I got some really important task to do. And I had a plan what to do. And they made me very clear that it's very important. It was so important that I don't even recall anymore what the task was. But what I remember was, on the way to doing the task, there were 3 people who asked me for small favors. And each time I said, I have no time, I have to do this. And and then somebody else was in my way, and I was a little rude to him, because I had to do this important task. And then suddenly there was an old Swami, one of the oldest disciples of Swami Vishnu, and she said, well, you just missed 3 opportunities for selfless service, and you just created troubles for somebody. She said it in a very kind voice. I still remember that. And I said, but Swamiji, I have this task to do, and they made it very important. She said, I'm sure when you finished your task, you'll find out it could have waited these 5 minutes. And after I had finished everything, and I was trying to tell somebody, I finished it. It took 5 minutes until that person arrived, and I knew I had felt disturbed by these simple things and simple people. In reality, as Krishna says here, we should never feel disturbed by anyone. We can welcome all the different opportunities to serve and all the different tasks God gives us. Equally poised in happiness and distress, fear and anxieties. We also have fears and anxieties. Only the real self-realized, they will not have any fears. Patanjali says in the Yoga Sutra, even the wise still have fear. I know for a number of years I was struggling with that word, because I said, well, the wise shouldn't have any fear, because it's not the self-realized. I saw in Swami Vishnudevananda, my guru, he wasn't afraid of anything. And it was quite literally, because he was flying over the Berlin Wall for world peace in 1983, and he had. So it wasn't just words for him, and there were quite a few situations where I could see you could have fear for many different reasons. He didn't have fear of anything. But if we're not self-realized, we'll still have fear, even if we're already on some state of wisdom. My devotee who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from all pains, and not striving for some result, is very dear to me. So we are not dependent on that things run the way we want them. Sometimes they run the way we want them, and sometimes they run completely different. Actually, Gurudev yesterday said in our ashram so well organized. I had a little bit of laugh. I say more, we're managing chaos. But I think we got good in managing chaos. So many things happen, and with people things happen, and somebody suddenly feels he wants to do something else, and some people have suddenly new needs. So the ordinary course of action, of activities, will happen more rarely if one is on the spiritual path. My Guru Swami Vishnudevananda usually said, if you practice, then karma will get faster. So better be prepared. Of course we like if we hear karma will go faster. Sounds nice, doesn't it? But it means more things will happen. More condensed, and not always what you would think, which will help the ordinary course of action. And we can see it all the time. And we will not be striving for some results. We'll be striving to serve. And sometimes we have to behave as if we're striving for some result. Because if you want to be expert, what he also said, you have to see how you get to that goal. But in the end, you'll never know whether you reach that goal, and it's not necessary you reach it. On the way to that, you'll have so many experiences and so many learning lessons, basically. 17th verse. One who neither rejoices nor grieves, who neither laments nor desires, and who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things, such a devotee is very dear to me. 18th verse and 19. One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equally poised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge, and who is engaged in devotional service, such a person is very dear to me. Equal to friends and enemies. Of course, even this is only one step, because if you are equal to friends and enemies, what do you need for that? Enemies. So, but for even deeper devotee, which Krishna says in other verses, there is no such thing as enemy. So as a learning ground, we feel that somebody, probably the word enemy is a little strong in our time, at least most aspirants. If I would ask you, please tell me your 5 most important enemies.
Lust, greed, anger.
I would assume most of you would not be able to make a full list. Unless you just had, but in some working situations you might have some who are really trying hard. But usually we don't have enemies, but we have some, how do you say Gegner in English?
Opponents.
Yeah, opponents. Maybe opponents you have. And then afterwards you'll only have common human beings who are in the depth of the heart all linked with the divine. But again, there was a time when I was struggling again with this the Sama to Shatrau and Mitra, so to the enemy and the friend. So I felt, why does he say it so much? He says it a few times, enemy and friend. This duality. Wouldn't it be better from the very beginning just to say there are no enemies and no friends? But I was in a space where I really only had well-wishing people around me. So it was easy. And there was a time when it was different. And then I could understand, well, Krishna gives high ideals, but he's also practical. From a higher point of view, there are no enemies. But sometimes we have that feeling as if there are. And then and Krishna says, yes, it's normal for human beings. We don't need to have a bad conscience, because if we have that feeling, so he accepts us in our human weakness. That's also the greatness of the Bhagavad Gita. It switches from different levels and different demands on us. At some point there's the highest demand. Everybody is manifestation of the divine and everything is divine. But then he says, well, there's heat and cold, and there's friends and enemies, and there is name and fame and the opposite. Everything is there. And then we welcome it all and we treat them all as divine servants. It's also the interesting thing in the Puranas where you have the Asuras and the Daivas. And the Asuras are the bad ones, the demons. And sometimes one would think there's also this dualistic worldview in the sense there's good and bad. And from the Christian tradition, we have the devil, who is always bad. Maybe in the beginning he was Lucifer, the one who brought light, but since then he's always bad, and he tries to get hold of the souls. Luckily today in the Christian church, nearly nobody believes in the devil anymore, but it used to be, and it's always the devil, and he's always bad, and you have to fight against him. It's not like that with the Asuras. There are some stories where some servants of Vishnu, they did something which is not nice, and they could choose either have one birth as an Asura or have 10 births as a human being. And as they didn't want to be away from Vishnu too long, they chose to be one birth as an Asura, so they'll be back to Vishnu. And after finishing the Asura birth, they come back to Vishnu. Or sometimes it's said, so many have different relationships with Krishna. You have, of course, Radha, you have Balaram, you have Yashoda, so different relationships. And in some tradition they say, but Kamsa realized Krishna first. He had a relation of hatred towards Krishna, and that's how he realized. With Ravana, it's even said more. Ravana was a strong devotee of Shiva, but he didn't reach Shiva completely. And so, how can he reach God completely? And then there's the mystery. He said, well, if you are the enemy of Vishnu in the form of Rama, then you'll reach more quickly. So, and then he developed the enemyship towards Rama, and then when Rama shot his final arrow, at least in some of the interpretations, that's when Ravana reached the divine. And then he was the first, before Hanuman, before Sita and Lakshmana and Lava and Kush, so that the sons of Rama. So, in the same way, different relationships we have, and we can, of course, we're not like Krishna and we're not like Rama, but we have different relationships, and we can see the divine working through all of these relationships. We can have an equal feeling that the divine is speaking through everybody. It doesn't matter who it is. And the same, Krishna sends us honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress. Sometimes it's even more difficult to bear honor than dishonor, and sometimes it's more difficult to bear dishonor instead of honor. And sometimes you see aspirants who say, no, don't say that I'm this and that. So sometimes one has to accept one and the other. And no, in the end it's just karma coming, or the divine will coming, and it manifests like this. It manifests like that. And then you can be satisfied with anything. And then, in the end, always, after these high ideals, he always makes it easy and says, one who is engaged in devotional service, so that we can do something. And that's also the important part. Because theoretically, we could just think of Krishna and just be equal-minded in everything. And what is the need for any sadhana and for any seva? Just have the proper attitude. Krishna is everywhere. Krishna doesn't need our seva. He's omnipotent. Radha doesn't need our seva. She's always one with Krishna. But we need the devotional service. And that is something which we have to do every day. Every day we should lead a sattvic life. Every day we should do our sadhana, whatever it is, kirtan, japa, or asana, pranayama, meditation. And we should do devotional service, and all that will be what will help us to feel the love of Krishna. So he always says, always have this, Bhaktiman me priya nara, or yasa me priyaha. That is the person who is in my love, who feels my love. And so the last of these verses, the 20th, I've already read. I'll read it one more time. And those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. Yetu dharmamritam idam yatoktam paryopasate shradhadhana matparama bhaktaste tiva me priyaha. That's the time. It means in the depth of our heart we're pure love. In the depth of our heart we're connected with the divine. And so if we open our heart, then we can feel the divine presence. And again, the divine presence is in everybody else also. And so if we open our heart, we can feel that divine presence in others as well. So that's what...
Yeah, very nice.
Thank you. But what kind of hindrance is there? Obstacles?
Impediment.
Impediment? No.
Obstacle, impediment, the same.
What kind of obstacles are there? Well, sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's protection, sometimes it's...
Protection for what?
One wants to protect oneself. Somehow usually people have made the experience, like small children usually have an open heart. They run towards everybody. And then parents say, be careful, don't run into everybody. And the parents have good reasons to say that. And then children start making some bad experiences. And then we close our heart. So we want to protect ourselves, we have fear, we want something from others, we don't want that others want something from us, and all that can close our heart. And then we can keep open our heart, and then the love can flow. Of course.
Yeah. Very.
Of course, I have to add something else there with this open heart, because there are some more extrovert people and there are some more introvert people. And I notice that in the spiritual realm, the extrovert people sometimes tell the introvert people, you have to open your heart. And the introvert people tell the extrovert, don't be so superficial. I have learned if somebody comes to me, he has a closed heart. I said, why does he have a closed heart? I know he serves with all his heart. Then I understood he's more an introvert person. And if the extrovert person runs towards him with open arms and wants to hug, but has to go slowly, look into the eyes, and then if the feeling is right, then on the other hand side, sometimes somebody complains, he's so superficial, she's so superficial. And I know the person who complains is an introvert person, and he feels the extrovert person who is just running and hugging everybody and continuously saying how wonderful everything is, and feels that's too So, to some degree, open heart is, but on a higher degree, open your heart means you feel the divine inside, you feel the divine in everybody, and you go beyond envy, fear, anger, protection, and so on. And if somebody has an open heart, you don't really know from the external behavior, but you can feel it if you come close to him or her.
Thank you.
Can I ask something also? This open heart, spiritual meaning, is it like somebody has self-realization? Can you say this? A real open heart is also he got already self-realization?
Let's say if somebody has always open heart, well then he or she has God realization, yes.
Yeah.
But on the way, sometimes we have to be careful in two directions. One is, if it's only for the God realized, and say, well, it's not for me, I can't open my heart, it's the God realized. And of course also, sometimes we think we have to be like the God realized saint, and it's also too much. But we start little by little. We try to open our heart for the people with whom we are, with the animals, with the trees and the sky. And of course the easiest is this, if you have a guru, you open your heart and immediately you feel the effect. Or you're in front of the altar and in front of the murti, and you again feel that divine presence. And then you do it towards more and more people. And then sometimes heart gets hurt. Sometimes you feel get taken advantage of. That's something people in the West are often afraid of. They're taken advantage of when you hear of self-service. And it's not an easy question. In reality, you're never taken advantage of. You give and give, but certain things don't belong to you. Everything belongs to God, and you have to see how you deal with what God has entrusted to you. So keep your heart open, and you give. But you give what you feel, which God has given you, what you can give. You can only give what God has given to you. And if you feel it's God who has given to you, then you can give. But sometimes God has given to you something for some purpose and not the purpose immediately in front of you. But it's a difficult thing. When you have something important, don't forget the small little things and the small little favors you can do to people. And that, again, open your heart all the time. So sometimes when you think you have a really important task to do, you're one-pointed on that, and then heart is closing. You're only towards that direction. On one hand side, one-pointedness is important. On the other hand side, being in the moment and seeing what God has as lessons for us in the moment. So it's sometimes good, reflecting on the self-realized saint, the God-realized saint, the God-intoxicated saint. That way we can try to go into the same direction. As Swami Shivananda said, as the man thinketh, so he becometh. So as we think, so we become. And if we think and reflect on the great saints, then we become like the great saints. Human beings usually have the pastime of thinking about the non-perfect ones. And I've been in several countries. I think it's a special gift to the Germans. I can say that I am in the German. They always try to find fault in somebody and something. Which you could say is also, it's all not 100% bad, because in that way you can try not to do the same mistakes, and you can try to learn from it, and you can also see the faults in yourself. But still, it's better most of the time to think about the good qualities in others. And most of the time it's better to think about the great beings into whom you want to evolve. And so that also helps to keep the heart open.
Isn't it also that when the heart is open and you see the divine love everywhere, then you also see all the divine qualities in everyone more than the imperfection?
Yes, you could say it's like an angel circle. You have in German you have the Teufelskreis. How do you say it in English?
Devil circle.
Devil circle, you say.
Negativity.
It always gets more negative, but it's on the angel circle or the divine circle. This means you open your heart towards others, you see the positive things, and you see the positive things, and then it opens your heart, and so it gets better and better. But you have to be careful, because it can again become a downward spiral quite easily. You feel hurt by somebody, heart is closing, you see the bad things, and then your heart is closing, and if your heart is closing, and then you downwards. And to a certain degree, it's also a question of, you all know I'm teaching Hatha Yoga and with chakras and so on. We'll also say it's a question of vibrational level. If the vibration is down, then the lower chakras, and then heart is not open, and then you have this anxiety and fear, and belongs to me and not to me, and he likes me, doesn't like me, and so on. But if you lift up your vibration to the heart, then it's getting easier, and then you see the positive sides, and so on. And if you suddenly see everything bad, then you could just say, well, my vibratory level has gone down. I should be more careful in chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. I should keep my diet more proper, or whatever the spiritual practice is. And if I have done something with the spiritual practices where I feel my spiritual heart again, and then things look different.
Can you say something about Anahata Chakra?
Anahata. What we were just talking about, Anahata Chakra is the heart center. It's the middle chakra. There's 3 higher chakras, the 3 lower chakras, and the Anahata Chakra is said to have 12 petals. This means 12 nadis and 12 qualities which go to the different directions. And the symbol is the star with 6. And it has actually 2 triangles, one triangle towards the upper and one triangle towards the lower, which is also a symbol. In the heart, you're connected with the divine, and you're connected with this world. And you love everything which is in this world without wanting something for you, and you love everything from God. You become the instrument of God, and you have this base on the top. From there, you get all the inspiration, and you try to become an instrument. And whatever happens, that is the triangle with the top and the bottom, the one angle there. Whatever happens in this world, you also try to see the divine there, and you learn from it, and you take the lessons which will help you to bring you up. So that's some of the symbolism in Anahata Chakra. Anahata Chakra also means, Anahata means, comes from, there's a nada, there's a sound, which is not coming from the outside. Nicht angeschlagen. How do you say that? It's a sound without
touching, without
clapping or without. Like now I make a sound. And the sound, this external sound, of course, we dedicate to Krishna and Radha, and we chant and so on. And so that's external. And the internal, Anahata, without external sounds, there's this pure love. So it's a sound without sound. It's the love without any conditions, which doesn't need anything. That's also why Anahata. It doesn't need anything from the outside. It's just there.
But what is your opinion about this saying, love starts where knowledge ends?
Love starts when knowledge ends. I wouldn't wait so long. I would start with love, and I would start with knowledge. And of course, there is some truth. Of course, it's some divine saying. Also, of course, it's correct. Full knowledge will develop into love, and the same full love will also develop into true knowledge.
Yeah.
Love without knowledge is emotion, and knowledge without love is dry intellectual. Swami Shivananda used to say it's intellectual gymnastics. But both hand in hand is important. And of course, what the saying wants to say is the God realization comes when knowledge ends and pure love dawns. But on a practical level, we shouldn't wait until we have full knowledge, and we shouldn't wait until we have full love. It's good to have knowledge and love.
I wonder how was your expectations of Vrindavan? As I understood, this was the first time you came here.
Yes, it's the first time I came here.
And what did you meet?
What did I?
What did you really meet?
What did I meet? It's hard to put it in words. It's just happening. I didn't expect. Don't want to go when I go to a new place. I don't want to create expectations. I just knew Sadhu Maharaj is there, and I put myself into his hands, and then things will unfold and will happen. So I didn't make much plans. And that somebody said, "What do you want to see?" and what have you read? And I said, "I don't need to read much about it. I'll go there." And I've read about Vrindavan. I've read all the Leelas of Krishna. And there's this book of Swami Shivananda, Lord Krishna, and his worship, and so many myths and Bhagavad time. And so I was curious to be at that place. But afterwards, so I come here, and it's still happening.
And how you feel, Sukadeva?
I feel wonderful. Full of love. It's just wonderful to be here and experience Gurudev's presence, experience the place here, the ashram. And when I was in Vrindavan, it was wonderful. Or the Radha Kund yesterday, and Govardhan Hill, and so many other places. So it's wonderful seeing these places where I've read so much about it, and sang so many kirtans about, and heard many people speak about. Yesterday, Gurudev spoke about that we have Radha Krishna in our biggest yoga hall. Just want to tell the story how all that happened. It was actually in our first ashram in Westerwald. We had our yoga hall. We had an image of Krishna there. And then we had a bigger yoga hall a few years later we built. So we made a Shiva Murti there. As we didn't want to move Krishna. He already got puja every day there. So we felt Krishna is quite happy there. So we don't want to move him. So we had the Shiva in the big hall. Then when we had Bad Meinberg, we said, well, we have to make it different. The smaller hall is the Shiva, and the bigger hall will get Krishna. So we ordered a big Krishna Murti. And there was one disciple of Swami Vishnudevananda, Swami Sharda, and she says, well, she knows a good artist who can make a Krishna Murti. So we ordered a Krishna Murti. It took 9 months, and then the package arrived. And then there wasn't just Krishna, there was also Radha.
She just hiding.
She just came. What are we going to do now with Radha? We just want Krishna on the altar. And originally, I have to admit, I said, well, Krishna will get into the main hall, and next to it is the Shakti room, which is called Shakti room. We put Radha there. But then, somehow things in ashram went strange. Everything changed. And then somebody said, actually my wife said, Radha wants to be with Krishna. If we want harmony in the ashram, we have to put Radha with Krishna. And so then we made a big puja and ceremony to put Radha with the procession to Krishna. And afterwards, there was more harmony in the ashram. And we could feel Radha and Krishna, now they were happy. And it wasn't right that originally we put them apart. And so Radha wanted to be there. And Krishna wanted Radha to be there. And then later, when our North Sea ashram opened, the director of the ashram, well, he for a while he was also helping Swami Nityananda, disciple of Swami Shivananda, who was very much into helping the poor, charitable work, that established school for the poor people in the slums of Delhi. And the area developed, and afterward there were no more slums. And so Swami Nityananda said there's no more need to that school, it can become a normal school. And so then the Murti of Radha and Krishna, which were in that school, and when it afterwards became another, basically a private school. And then the new owner, he said, well, we want to take Muslims and we want to take Hindus and we can't have the Radha Krishna there. And then Keshava said, well, then we get Radha Krishna to our ashram at the North Sea. And so we have in Bad Meinberg, we have a Radha Krishna in white marble, and at the North Sea, Krishna is in black and Radha is in white.
Keshava is there?
Keshava is there. And now Keshava is moved to our ashram in Bad Meinberg. He's also a construction person, so he now helps to build the center of the ashram, which had been abandoned. We're just now putting it into function.
What he is building, some hall or what?
I don't know, Gurudev, whether you remember, well, the ashram area has 3 building complexes, and the center one we haven't used yet. So he's transforming. So this year we are putting that into place. And then we'll have the main dining hall in the center complex. So, and the bigger kitchen and so on. But he's a great devotee of Radha and Krishna.
Yeah.
Keshava.
First he brings in the Radha Keshava with Austrian, what is the name of Bansi Prabhu?
Pavitra?
No.
Who?
And the lady
Manjari.
from the Paramadviti Maharaj Desapa. What is that?
In Austria.
Austria, Vienna.
Yes,
Malati.
Malati bring him.
Malati.
Malati.
Yes, she brought you first time with Keshava.
Then I meet you. Give my big hug to Keshava. Thanks for this.
So, if you come to Bad Meinberg in June, then you're
Any more question?
Oh, Gordon, I have one question.
Yeah.
Because, no, for you. Because I appreciate so much also Gurdiv's explanation on the last verse of this most important verse, Savardhaman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Raja. So maybe you would like to let us listen this Mamekam Sharanam Raja.
I say, Maharaj, maybe I am mistaken in Sanskrit, but Mam means my, right? Mam means I, Mam. Krishna says Mam means Ekam means one. My one. Sarv dharmana partajye. Okay, leave this. But when this condition to leave the dharma? When you know me and my one. Then that time only you have to take saranam. That's correct. Still that you not know the dharma, then when you don't know me, then dharma is important. When you know me, of my one, what is need of dharma now? This is this way of dharma learning to reach to me. And not only me, I will to me one also. Maham ekam sharanam. Then you need only shelter, and what will happen, he does after that. We become instrument of. It's okay?
it's very deep.
One time, one professor, PhD professor, he comes to me and he also teaches me. He was in Sanskrit PhD and he is the teaching for the master's students. He knows the Bhagavad Gita. He can read from the beginning to end without book. And from backside to
From back to front.
without book. He remember like this. Because he is very clear devotee of Krishna. Everywhere he feel Krishna. When I explain my feelings, I say I am not a very good knowledge of Sanskrit, but I can is feeling, and I listen from the sadhus like this. So can I explain? Yes. He become very angry to me. He said, what you are talking? You break the Sanskrit. After 6 months he comes. And he is my professor, teacher. I am catching his feet. But he come and he catch my feet and he start crying. And he said to me, you are very close to me, Krishna. One time come, very close to me. You very, very, very close to me. But you don't understand me. And if you want to understand, without Radhika you cannot understand me. And after that, he becomes so devoted to Radha. So Barsane is a place to visit. I am thinking for that, but next time. Barsane is a place of Radhika. It is so good high vibration there, you cannot imagine. So he always go and cry there. He cannot see after Krishna without Radhika. And you see the surprising, you searching Krishna, Radha Krishna is coming to you. And you try to separate them. It's not possible. This is their love. And this vibration of Radhika is there. I feel this. I feel this vibration. And this will grow. Nobody can stop it. She is the goddess of love. Even the Creator is, whole the universe is mad for Creator, and Creator is mad for Radha, for love. This is that. So Vrindavan is not a place for Creator Krishna. He is a gardener here. Just a gardener of Radhika. And this is the Braj. Bhumi is the land. Swami is Radhika. And this is the beauty of Braja. That Krishna, when he comes here, he feels like a home. And anyone who will come here, they feel like this. This is a real home. And this is the place, what you think it happens. Is the place, only thinking is the result is there. Automatic. Sleeping is a meditation and bhajan is happening. A special land, a special bhumi is this. Braj Bhumi. Radhe Radhe Go